Love to hear it. Well, we can get right into it. I kind of want to wait a minute or two to see if we're gonna have any stragglers coming in. But how about you, Madman? You have a good day?
It was
Just okay?
a bunch of money in that. It's a bunch of monies.
Happens. Happens to the best of us. What was the mistake?
Jeez.
Chasing. What'd you chase? Calls or shorts?
Mm.
Okay. Was it an alert or did you hop in on that one on your own? Gotcha. I feel that.
So you can hang on.
Well, let's get on into it. You guys have anything you guys want to check out?
I still took a look at to snap like that down. Break it down or is it gonna be there?
Tesla, I just posted a play plan on Tesla. I think we're heading lower, personally. Let me set this up for you so it looks just like the play plan. I believe I had it cut off to the gap down following earnings. Yeah, that looks about right. So the biggest thing is clearly this 232 level, right? This was the main support spot for the last 3 months, right? Since this recent gap up. From there, you can very clearly see this was an absolute floor for a long time, and it just made sense that this is where our volume taper would develop, right? This is where buyers were consistently stepping in and saving it, and between 32 and about 45 is where the most volume was done, right? So naturally, because we got that gap down today, or real quick, before this whole thing happened, before the CPI data, Tesla was already relatively weak, right? If you look at the recent high we made all the way at 265, and it's been, this was the 28th, right? So this was almost 2 weeks ago. We've seen 2 weeks of pretty much consistent downside. Hey, Captain, good to see you in here, man. But you've got some background noise.
Sorry about that.
You're good. Just letting you know. But we've seen consistent downside for the past 2 weeks, right? While market has pretty much done a pretty good job of maintaining this high range, right? So relative weakness was already existent, and that's why we liked this for downside today, right? As soon as we broke under this 232 level, we fell into this massive liquidity gap, meaning that price could move a lot smoother and quicker through this range. And so, sure enough, right off the open, we sold pretty hard, right? And we filled somewhat of a price gap here as we tapped these pivot highs. Um, but did you notice how when the market kind of rallied in the end of day and we got that buying into the close, Tesla didn't feel pretty much any of that. We still closed really weak, right? So the relative weakness is still very much here. And I do think it's very likely that we'll at least come down and fill this price gap, if not test this lower shelf, right? So I said tomorrow, if we can see weakness under 226, ideally paired with confluent market sentiment, meaning market's also weak, this is still a great short setup. It may look like you missed the best entry, right, with the break under 32, but there's still an opportunity here. You can still very easily catch another $5 to $6 lower here. If you catch under 226, I think this thing should magnet straight into this 220 area. So the targets that I have listed are 224 for the price gap fill, and then we've got this significant taper zone here at the top of this volume shelf at 220 up to 222. So I think it's still heading lower. Um, I don't think tomorrow you really want to try and grab a pop on it, because I think if it does look for a bounce, it's gonna push all the way back into 232 where sellers will be present. If you're willing to play time, if you're willing to play, next week or maybe 2 weeks out, if we do see that pop into 232, that would probably be the best risk to reward place to short, just because, if it reclaims 232, you're wrong, right? You'll know that you're wrong and you'll only be taking about $1 or two of risk, right? You'll be risking, right? Quick risk to reward. You'll be risking maybe $2 up to 34 to make potentially $10, right? Down to 22 or 20. right? So the risk reward on this short on the retest would be really clean. So, but that wouldn't be a day trade idea. That would be something where it would need a few days of action to make that full move for you. Um, but I'm pretty confident in continued downside here. Now that we've broken below this structure, it's going to be really hard to get back into it because since this is the taper, this is where sellers are going to be the most present, right? So now that we're under 232, so long as we remain under it, we should be able to make our way back down into this area, right? Let me extend this out a bit because this is primarily what I'm looking at here. Just like that. This is this zone right here from 220 up to about 222. But yeah, I wrote up a plan play again. The plan play is more abbreviated and kind of just straight to the point, but this is what I expect. I expect us in short, so long as we're under 232, I think we should visit this 220 area at the minimum. If market weakness compounds, right? If the market starts seeing some severe downside, I do think we could see as low as, this 207 to 210 area. But again, I wouldn't go swinging for the fences with short-term contracts, especially with earnings around the corner. I do think that Tesla's one of those cult following names, and the anticipation around this stock is very high. That you could see a bounce purely for the reason that earnings is coming up, right? And people are going to want to try and get in before earnings. So if I do think you're going to see a move, I think it's your best play is probably just tomorrow, looking for that continuation through this liquidity gap down into this 220 area. And like I said, I'll have eyes on it as well. I'll be looking to play this in the morning as well. Oh yeah. All right. El Sucio, how was your day, man?
Yeah, it was solid, man. I caught a piece of the way down and a piece of the way up.
Nice.
I'm so jaded.
Yeah.
Just don't hold through anymore. Um, this market is just so fucking batty. I'm looking at Boeing. I've been on it short since a few days ago from 230, and probably gonna close that tomorrow.
You look great here. You look great here, man. What, did you short it after that news, right?
No, I shorted it the day after the news when it got back near 230.
Yeah, solid. Solid.
And I bought myself weak for safety. Um, these things, when they happen to Boeing, they don't tend to be short-lived, even though no one died on this one. Um, but I just took that as like an initial play while I waited for some more clarity to come out, as a longer play down to 210 and then maybe even 200.
Yeah, I think 200's
These close, the daily close, really interesting.
Oh, this is if you're holding shorts, this is exactly what you want to see, right? 3 days of them kind of, struggling but managing to keep it within some sort of balance, and then today flushed right through it in a very poor close, right? Closing at low of day. So that's everything you want to see in a swing position. My general area, I think,
Not
too.
closing at lower day.
Huh?
It's not just closing at lower day. It's the last 3 days were wiki or doji. They trying to save it. I watched the buyers come in at certain levels, heavy, like big lots,
Yeah.
last couple days. That ended day selling, it not only also broke below that, or is it back in May? You see it kind of topped out, and then when it gapped up after the earnings,
Okay.
it bounced right above that. So it closed below those wicks. So that's
Yeah, definitely. It like I said, the structure and everything. If you're holding shorts, this is exactly what you want to see. Like a clear exit of the balance and a close at low a day. Plus you've got a fundamental catalyst, right? The amount of money that's going to have to go into investigating all the planes and everything like that. That's definitely something where it's a fundamental change in the stock, right? They're going to have to spend a bunch of money that's going to affect their bottom line. So you've got everything you want here. You've got technical, weakness, and then on top of that, you've got a fundamental change that warrants a change in price to the downside. So as for targets, I do think this 220 area is probably going to get a little bit of respect, just for the point that it's been kind of a pivot zone for a good while. But your main your point of control and where the most volume's been done on the year is all the way down at this 212, 213 area. And that's where I've got this
Yeah.
seemingly random level here. It's because of that point of control. I do think just the way Boeing moves, it may take longer than a week. But if you already plan on closing these out tomorrow, I think that 220 and maybe any dip under 220 is probably a great final target.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm thinking of watching it in the morning and maybe taking a flyer on some if I start to see sellers and some zero DTEs
Okay,
as well,
sure,
depending on
sure.
where it opens. Um, but yeah, I mean, with the holiday coming up and I'm already up, 150%, I don't want to swing it through the weekend.
Definitely not.
But I think it's got a lot more to go. I'm just wondering where the re-entry would be.
Yeah, if you
If it
had
bounces up.
if you had more time, I'd say shoot for this 213 area. But I like it.
There's also a really big 1 hour volume shelf at 218. 1 hour volume shelf. And it was holding where all the buyers were, between 226 and 228 the last 2 days. So
This guy.
I'm thinking they may attempt. Let me pull the screen back up.
God, like this volume shelf doesn't even make much sense. We've only spent 3 days here, but because these 3 days have been the most high volume it's seen in forever, your volume stacked here pretty aggressively.
There's major volume and people trying to save it and buy the dip.
Yeah,
And I think that close makes me feel like they may have lent it.
I mean, looking back just over
So
the
to get
last
some pressure from the outside.
looking back just over the last like 3 months, there's like really no significant structure until like 196 to where you'd be like, okay, a technical reason for them to hold. I mean, I think personally, yeah, this 220 area should get some respect, but you know, the bigger point of control is all the way down at 213. And like you said, when Boeing trends, it trends. So if you had more time, I'd say you've got another 10 points lower before you could really start to worry about buyers stepping in. But if you're looking to close it tomorrow, yeah, just anything under 220 I think would be a really strong exit.
So I like 226ish to maybe come back in. It
Oh, to
bounces
get
off
back in?
220. What do you think about yeah, to buy more time and come
Uh,
back in,
well, well, like I said, the structure isn't really great. So, like, if you weren't already in, I wouldn't advise getting it. Um,
Gotcha.
let's see.
That's
Um,
normal in me.
it's a little bit of a tough read. If I'm looking for a spot that looks confident to short it, if anything, I would just say a pop over 30. You would just hope to you'd look to get in on a pop over 30 and then hope that it fails and closes under. But again, if with your contracts, I don't know if you really want to sit through it going all the way back up to 30.
I agree. It tends to be
I was gonna say I kind of batted my eyes a little bit when you said you wanted to play same days on it. I was like, Boeing doesn't really seem like a great same day candidate, you know?
I have made a good
Really?
past if you can. Yeah, because no because the at the best levels. Trust me. You get $50 equipping your 50%.
Nice. Hell yeah. Well, hey, I like it, man. I think you could definitely see a nice follow through lower tomorrow and close this out for a nice big trade.
Got another I want to get with you.
Sure.
And may not dig it because it's got earnings coming up in a couple weeks, but MMM 3M.
Yeah, this looks like that typical pre-earnings run up. I mean, well, market's been strong, and then you're holding pretty much flat. Earnings is not next week, but 2 weeks out. Yeah, it's kind of at that spot. If we were to draw out, the span of where it spent the most volume, your tapers all the way up at probably 109. Oh, it didn't click. 109 down to about right here, about 98. So yeah, this is where the most sellers are going to be present anyways. So it kind of makes sense why a week, 2 weeks before earnings, this is where they stalled out, right? Um,
Which is why I think it might be a good level of risk against, but then again, earnings may keep it up.
exactly,
It's at the
exactly.
top of that volume taper, it failed to break out of, where it kind of created that cup and where it headed down on the left hand side. And you got that trend line from the low, the 52-week low. It's right on it. So
Yeah,
it's got to come right into that level.
you took the words out of my mouth pretty much. Like, it feels like a good spot to risk against from a technical perspective, but again, before earnings, it's just kind of a toss up. It could very well just hold flat for the next, 2 weeks. Yeah, you could see a pop
Yeah,
over
and not,
110.
not
I would say if you see a pop over 110, that would probably feel. What's that?
it all got on my radar because they announced they were cutting employee benefits. They were switching pensions. They were getting rid of the pensions um, and switching people's 401ks. Which I was curious what the impact would be, so I started watching it.
Probably see some people quit, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's a company change, right? And with unknown consequences, so you don't know how that can ripple. And these major industrials, they don't tend to move super hard, though this one fucking ripped off the bottom.
Yeah, with
So
time, this would have been a killer swing. Would it do like 35% off the lows, something like that? No, more, almost like 45%.
everything was thing for October.
So from
And
110, let me do some quick
I
math.
was thinking some.
Yeah, dude, it did 30% from the lows.
I want to look at one more with you, SMCI.
I
This had
looked
two
at that.
super bad.
I looked at that a little bit earlier. I charted this thing up a little bit. This thing's kind of interesting. Let me do this real quick. Also, I changed the way I stream, so it records the entire screen now. You guys are able to see this pop-up window, right?
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Because beforehand, you couldn't. And now you guys can see what
Right.
I'm doing to change the volume profile. So, anyways, yeah, the last 3 days, look at your point of control. It's like right here. If I were to do an average, like this spot, strength over this, this 343 area. If you can hold some strength over that, this thing feels really confident to not only go retest these highs, but based on the volume that this thing's been seeing past few days, and based on where it's at, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big push tomorrow into maybe 370 or so. You know, I think it's
There was massive volume early in the week on the 380s. And I mean, I've seen the market go away from it, but the fucking gamma won't let it, right? Like this shit has dropped $15 a day.
380s is a bit insane. 380s is way too far.
Wax, I'm not at all saying go for it, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
that was where there was a lot early in the week, um, which set it off, right? When it was at 290 and it just fucking took off like a rocket. So did Nvidia.
I
And
love these
I tried to.
350. I might end up playing this tomorrow. I love these 350 contracts. Super nice volume, tight spread, and it's very close to the money. Those 350s could do damage tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on
Yeah,
this. Let me.
you have people that are waiting to short in 351 and 357. That's where they're selling last 2 days. Where those get stopped in. Same as below 330, 380, 330. It's where all the buyers have been stepping in.
I really like it. I was looking at it earlier. I was very close to putting a what was I gonna say? To putting a planned play on it. The only reason is just because the structure wasn't super clean. I was mainly going exclusively off of volume and the larger structure. Just the fact that we've kind of rushed back into high of, the all-time high and have kind of been holding it. So that was the only reason why I kind of started paying attention to it. But I mean, look at this. Clean exit of the balance, right? Lots of lower highs. And we're testing the all-time high. This feels like we're in the middle of a breakout. And based on how strong semis have been, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see this thing just, you know, push its way right through it. And 380, dude, it seems far away. And trust me, I wouldn't play 380s for tomorrow, but like next week 380s. Oh wow. That's your lotto play right there. Honestly, that's your lotto play. 375s or
Yeah, that's
I really like it, dude. I really like it. I think it's super good. Again, I'm gonna have my eyes on this tomorrow. Um, just from the few day balance going on. Um, yeah, this looks really good.
the last one I'm kind of eyeing, but I'm waiting on to see. This is
Okay.
got a little gap at 11 and something like that. Response up side direction.
Oh, this one's interesting. Big breakout. Nice clean exit of the balance a few months ago. That was really solid. Shoot, I don't know why I wasn't looking at this thing. This was such a clean breakout. Look at that. Clean level and everything, dude. Like right there at that high it made way back here. That was so clean. Oh my goodness. And the retest too. Wow. Yeah, this thing moves pretty nice. But anyways, uh so this is where I kind of have a little bit of trouble with it. Um your balance that you gap down from, let me change the time frame on this. Put on like a 15. The thing that I struggle with here is your price gap also lines up with your volume taper a lot. I feel like I feel like if you're looking for upside, once you clear this area, sure. This we're actually
Flat. Never look.
oh you're looking to short it.
Yeah. Side I don't.
Okay. Well then you have two spots to short. Pretty much right where it's at right now at this 1100 or all the way up here at 115. Those are the two clean spots to try shorts. Um, this one feels they're both good risk, honestly, just because when you know you're wrong, it's very quick, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a significant close into this volume gap, you have pretty fair confidence that it's going to head back up into this 15 area. Let me change that real quick. 15, and then sorry, I'm a whore for whole numbers, so seeing those decimals makes me upset. But anyways, yeah, risking against this 1100 and risking against 15 both look very good. Um, these are the two spots I'd be willing to try. Also, shoot, this one offered a good short too. This third time around, that was a killer short. What'd they catch from 50 down to 10, 40 points in what an afternoon, maybe 2 days? That was a really nice short.
Yeah,
Super clean risk too.
I don't remember that. Caught some of that one. That was fun.
Oh, you did? Hell yeah.
Yeah. Been watching it since it broke over 1,000.
Really.
I didn't touch it until it was 11 something, but it's done with it.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm a little upset I missed this breakout. This day was super clean from 923 up to 960. Oh my god, that's a hell of a day trade. Nothing but up all day either. Yeah, that would have been really nice. That would have been really nice. All right, Captain, how's your day going, man?
Good. How's yours?
Enjoyable. Killed it today. Killed it today.
Yes, sir.
You got anything you want to check out?
Can you check that arm?
Wow, I haven't looked at that one in a little bit. Ooh, this one's struggling. This one's struggling. Yeah, so pretty tough rejection from the highs, and it's already failing to work on a reversal effort. So it had a pretty nice day here, but it's already failing. Some buyers stepped in today, but regardless, your bigger structure is feeling pretty rough. Um, okay, 67's been saved a good amount of times. Lines up with the volume taper as well. Um, div, stack of volume there. This one's tricky, dude. This one's really tricky. If I'll be completely honest, I think it needs a couple days to. What are you looking to do with it? Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not doing anything on this right now. I'm just kind of barely even looking at it. I think that seems like something interesting been brewing a bit, and I just wanted to get your opinion on it.
Sure. Um, yeah, I feel like it needs a couple days to set something up. Just off a very quick glance, the 68 area feels like it could definitely be risked against. Um, but the stop out feels, like you'd be kind of riding this thing down a good bit before you knew you were wrong. But just structurally, right? We've been working on a very clean trend higher, and you got this big blow off top here, right? You never like to see that. Um, and then of course followed by a very quick sell off, and you know now you've got this bigger lower high, and we're already working back down into this lower pivot. So structurally, it feels like it's gotten ahead of itself, and it's looking to go down and maybe accumulate some more buyers before making another stab higher. It doesn't feel like there's anything pressing here. It feels like it's kind of in a, finding valuation phase where we're kind of looking for liquidity. We're kind of looking to build out some confidence before taking another stab higher. And trust me, it can go a lot lower before it finds that confidence. The first spot I'm looking at is down here to 64 to 61. This is the first area where I'd be like, okay, well, we've established buyers here and we've built a good chunk of liquidity. This is the area where I'd be like, this is where long should be extremely present. Up here, it's been kind of shaky, right? They don't really like being above this 72 area, right? The first time we tried it, we failed. We got a blow off top, and the next day they liquidated straight back under it, and now again, that's where the reversal effort fails, is over the 72. So I don't love it at the moment. I don't think there's a confident play here at the moment. I think it needs a couple days, if not maybe a week or so, to set something else up, and then it might be a different story. But right now, I feel like playing anything on it, whether upside or downside, doesn't feel good. I think it just needs time. But don't get me wrong, this is a very, very nice moving name. Um, it based on intrinsic, it moves plenty each and every day. It reminds me of AMD, honestly, in the way it moves. And I think liquidity's strong. Am I wrong? It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It ain't all that. But um, yeah, if you give this thing some time, it should offer something more confident next week or so. But definitely keep an eye on it. I would set some alerts, right? So if price gets back over 72, I would want to be paying attention to it. If price dips under 64, I'd be wanting to pay attention to it. Those are some of the big spots where if you ask me again and we're over 72 or we're under 64, I'd have a much more definitive answer for you on what I think should happen.
Right, got it.
Hell yeah. You take any place today?
Actually, right. Well, I've been tonight overnight. Luckily, I was able to wake up early enough to close it, or we can run back.
Good.
150% move over the morning,
Beautiful.
which that turned out quite nicely. But I've just kind of been back monitoring anything, waiting for some better setups to form.
Gotcha. Sounds good, man. Glad to hear it. Oh, anyone else got anything they want to check out? You got anything else, man? Captain, Madman? You guys can ask just general questions too. We don't have to look at charts.
I got more. I just don't want to take up
What's good, Susio?
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
It's an interesting spot.
I'm super bullish on McDonald's, dude.
We needed there to get held, like, held that projection on the top of the taper, like back up off the temp that flows under the level. It looks like it wants to try for all-time highs 300.
I'm super bullish on McDonald's.
So
I think it'll be back here in no time.
if it fails, though, it's gotta have that rim down.
Oh, this guy right here?
Yeah, so it's an interesting watch right now, right? Because it looked really strong. It held, reestablished, came back up. It looks like it wants higher, and to rip through that all-time high. But if it doesn't, it's not like the market turns or whatever. There's a lot to sell down too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Knowing you, this is your spot. Tuna.
McDonald's is not actually a name I'm super afraid of being bullish on.
It's McDonald's, man.
Yeah, it's not going nowhere.
Yeah, dude, they pay a killer dividend, which I might add, they
Florida,
their earnings are consistently strong. They pay a great dividend, which might I add, they just increased. And second, it's super structurally strong. There's really no reason to be bearish on McDonald's. They just did a major expansion operation as well with what's the fucking name of it? McCosmos? Is that it? It's like a breakfast coffee spin-off. They're supposed to be competing with like Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. Did you hear anything about that?
I think I saw like a headline on it.
They've already got like one or two locations open. And I wouldn't be surprised if in like 2 months they've got 50 locations, you know? It's McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them doing similar to what Costco did over the last week. It's kind of a similar setup.
Cosmo, what's it called? Cosmix. Okay. I just wanted to show you this real quick. So it's like a first Cosmos locations are opened in Illinois. There's a few locations, I guess. Yeah. So like I said, it's a competitor to Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, and it's like a breakfast coffee type thing.
I think they can take out Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin's.
But Dunkin's huge. Do you know how many locations they have? Dunkin's is massive.
I'm just saying that's a good share that definitely lead from.
Yeah. If any of you guys want to read this, I'll link this in. I'll link this in chat real quick. Um. Anyways, yeah, if you are looking to short it, I don't think you are, but this is your spot. Just risking against the highs where we've seen existing sell pressure before, and of course a massive volume taper. But other than that, I don't see a reason to be short.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It's one of the rare bullish vibes that I potentially get behind.
Right. Unless another virus comes out and people aren't eating out as much, I'm not shorting McDonald's.
I
Oh,
was looking at code, kind of a similar.
dude, Costco's insane.
All-time high.
Dude, Costco, this breakout, I've been waiting 3 years for it, is one of my best performing stocks this year because of this. Um, God, I've been waiting for this move forever. Seriously, I was drawing wedges over here. Look at this. I had this drawn. You're gonna laugh because it's like, rudimentary textbook. I had something like this drawn for the longest time and it, finally broke. But yeah, Costco's in the middle of a massive breakout and it just cleared, this range. If you wanna do something like this, right? It just broke out, working higher, retested it today, and closed a new all-time high close. This thing's a train. I wouldn't be jumping in front of it, especially when there is no sell pressure yet. It hasn't shown any signs. If you wanted to short this time around, right? Because it was just the previous pivot and it's where sellers were present, it worked. But ever since we cleared that and we're holding above it, there's now no sell pressure on this chart. And it's in the middle of a breakout that's been brewing for, you know, uh almost two.
Sure to get any of the discount names.
What do you mean? Say it again?
Shorting any of the discount names, man. I'm encouraged as hell on America, which means everyone goes to
Ex-
they can save fucking
exactly. Exactly. With inflation being a persistent factor, wholesalers and those type of brands are going to continue to thrive. Costco is not
the only
going
reason I brought
anywhere.
them up. Yeah, the only reason I brought them up is if you look at McDonald's, McDonald's looks like Costco did a week ago.
McDonald's looks like Costco did a week ago. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, I can see it. I can see
So
it.
I'm looking for a Costco type move on McDonald's.
Sure. I think this third time around, it could definitely break highs. Coming at you from a purely risk to reward standpoint, yes, this is the area to short. But if you look at it now, right, we rejected, we've bought it back, and now we've been continuing to build value at the high range. It's more likely than not
Yeah,
that this time around we will look for higher. And especially with earnings right
yeah.
around the corner. Say again?
I'm saying if that little head and shoulder setup fails, definitely looking for a breakout. I would be really scared of the all-time highs. I think the momentum could carry through.
Knowing McDonald's, it might just be the earnings report that sends it through. But yeah, Costco, dude. I'll never sell my Costco equity. I'll never sell my McDonald's equity. There's two of those staple names in America. This chart is.
I went to fucking Taco Bell when I was down in Florida. There used to be a $20 Taco Bell challenge. I spent 12 fucking 80 on it, man.
That sounds awful, dude.
Things. I'm skinny. Like, that shit is ridiculously expensive. The food inflation in fast food is off the charts.
Dude, $20 at Taco Bell sounds like, oh,
Well, the challenge used to be that no one could finish $20 worth of Taco Bell because you simply couldn't. There's so much food.
yeah, what, in
No one could finish the challenge.
2005?
Now it's just a heavy meal.
Yeah, it's a normal meal. Um,
It's crazy.
Sabonite, how's your day going, man?
Yeah, not yours.
Solid, can't complain. Made some solid plays and market had some volume to it, so I was stoked.
Yeah, it's definitely moving.
Damn straight. You got anything you want to look at, man?
Uh, maybe look at the NQ just to kind of maybe look at maybe what we're looking at tomorrow. Possibly.
Sure. Oh, pressing right back into highs. Still at all-time highs. Wow. Jesus, man. So some of the leading names, obviously AMD, uh, Microsoft, Nvidia, tech has been leading right now. In fact, I'd argue that tech has primarily been keeping this market propped up. There are plenty of the wholesale names, as we just talked about, some of the consumer staples that have been performing really well as of recent too. But again, those are more down names, but they all fit right into the S&P. Um, Looking at Nasdaq, I would imagine tech strength continues. Again, Nvidia got bought entirely back today, following a massive gap up. AMD is pressing relative highs. Microsoft just passed Apple for the most valuable company in the world. So tech is on a run. Yeah, today happened today. Um, it's running everything. And tech's on a hot streak, and I don't imagine that it just changes tomorrow. I would, just based purely off of technicals and what we see happening with the current environment, I would imagine Nasdaq has no problem working higher into the previous highs tomorrow. Um, like we said, Fridays we don't sell. When volatility is this low, we don't sell on Fridays. It used to be different 2, 3 years ago, but over the last year and a half, 2 years, we don't sell on Fridays. I guarantee you, you can look as long as you want. Um, I think I actually saw a stat the other day that said 85% of Fridays in the last 2 years has been green. 85%.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. Even in the middle of a massive downtrend, we'll still find a reason to buy Fridays. So I try to avoid shorts.
You know, track CPI day to day and everything like that is still kind of.
Dude, did you see the end of day action? We bought everything back. Nasdaq closed green. Like,
Yeah. I couldn't even get into it.
Yeah.
I was busy in meetings and I was pretty pissed off. Trying to admit that 100.
Yeah, so happens, dude. I promise you there will be more. And if you're getting upset about missing moves when volatility is still as low as it is, trust me, just wait till you trade through some days where volatility is high. I'm talking VIX above 20, VIX at 30. Those days, you listen, today we saw action that is unprecedented for where volatility is, okay? Check this out. Oh, why is my computer being slow? We saw multiple 10-point plus candles, right? We saw two back to back. 5 minute candle that dropped from 14 all the way down to double O's. It's a 14-point candle, right? And then followed by that was from 00 down to 88. That's a 12-point candle. These candles are every candle when VIX is above 25. Okay? Trust me, dude. Like, if you felt bad about missing this, I get it. Based on the environment we've had, it does feel like we missed out. But trust me, VIX will find a reason to spike. There will be some volatility event. We will see a sell off and in some sort of correction in the future. Might be next month, might be next year, it might be 10 years from now. I would I would off myself if that was the case. But um but it will happen again. Okay? And those environments, right? Like just looking at VIX, we saw an environment just as recent as October, I believe. Yeah. During these days when VIX was high above 20, let's look at this time frame. Let's go 1019 to 1030 and let's look at what ES was doing. 1019 to 1030, right? So here's 1019 and here's 1030, right? So check this out. Look at how much bigger these days are compared to what we've become accustomed to, right? This is a day we dropped from 4,000 and we saw a low of 30. It's a 70-point day. Day after that, we went from 70, saw a range all the way down to 90. That's an 80-point day, right? So volatility,
Yes.
and look at the buyback on ES today, right? The buyback on ES today it felt like a big old ripper from bottom to top, right? 75 to 11. That's 35 points. That's nothing. That's nothing. You know? So it may suck because it does feel like we missed out today if you didn't catch it, but these types of candles are the normal trading action when VIX is high, when volatility is high. Okay? So don't FOMO, don't chase anything, don't force anything. We will see this action again.
Right.
Probably won't be tomorrow.
Whenever you have that volatility, like on those days where you're getting those big candles, is it real choppy in those days, or do you get pretty good trends?
Typically the action looks the exact same. It's just the candles are bigger.
I got you.
So if it's a choppy day, it's a choppy day. It'll just be a much wider range choppy day, you know?
Right.
So the action day to day, the decision making candle to candle, it's not going to change much, right? If we have a down day, it's probably not going to be straight down, but um the candles will just be bigger, right? You'll see more size and you'll see larger ranges.
Okay.
So a term we use is sorry?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say a term we use is ADR, and that's just average daily range, right? So right now, if I were to guess, the average daily range is probably anywhere between 30 and 40 points. When VIX is above 25, the ADR is probably closer to 80 to 100 points. And so there's just yeah. So if you're playing futures where there is no such thing as IV, there is no such thing as theta decay. Yes, you can catch much bigger moves during high volatility times, and there's way more opportunities, right? Like if your goal is to catch 10 points on futures, right now it's a lot harder to do that than it is when VIX is high.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's an argument for futures, right? Um, but anyways, yeah, it's let's get back to NASDAQ, which you asked about. Um,
I enjoyed.
but anyways, yeah, based on the current environment with low volatility, seeing the trend of how we typically act on Fridays, and then on top of that, knowing that tech is leading at the moment, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll probably see another green day tomorrow. And think about it. We've got PPI tomorrow morning. Everyone always chalks it up to being a big fundamental catalyst and a big, data event. When in reality, CPI is the one that matters because that's what sets the tone. And 99% of the time, PPI is going to come in line with CPI. So if we liked the data today, we're going to love the data tomorrow, right? It's very, very unlikely that we'll see PPI come in super hot and completely diverge what we saw from CPI today. So if
So
anything,
you think we'll have like a pre-morning session, like which is going to go overnight, but kind of drop down to the maybe the lower volume, and then kind of bounce whenever the market open.
I'll
It's Friday night.
I'll be honest, I have no clue what we're gonna do. But when the data releases, the data is gonna release an hour before open. You will see similar, not as much, but you will see similar volume to what you saw this morning with the CPI release. Um, but chances are it'll probably be some sort of knee-jerk reaction like we got today, right? Big sell-off right when the news comes out, and then we see somewhat of a follow-through once retail gets their hands on it. But after that, it's probably gonna be, you know, we'll find a bid and we'll probably end up buying it. And that's if PPI is negative. PPI could come in right at expectations and we'll take that opportunity to buy it, right? It might not be a negative or it might not be a downwards knee jerk move. It could very easily still be upwards. So again, I always say, it's foolish to guess what the data will be or how we'll react to said data. It's always best to just have data in hand and then make decisions. So I have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow morning, but based on everything we've seen this year and how volatility is, and with tech being the leading name right now, I'm expecting a green day tomorrow across the board.
Yeah. And they're definitely trying to wait till usually around 9 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah,
Before I jump into anything, and then they give the market about 30 minutes to get, knee-jerk reactions out of the way and try and start setting up a trend in one direction. That's kind of it's worked out best for me so
great.
far. So that's normally what I just kind of wait for to, because those opening candles, man, they can take you out quick. So
They can be violent.
I try to
Yeah,
stay away. Yeah, I was trying to stay away from those.
makes sense. Yeah, dude, just if it's working, no need to fix it, right?
Right.
But yeah, just based on everything, again, I think tomorrow's gonna be green. How green, I don't know. But that's I don't plan on playing many shorts tomorrow.
Awesome.
I do have my eyes on Tesla shorts. So in the odd case that tomorrow is bearish, Tesla's the name I'm looking for downside. But other than that, I've got my eyes on AMD calls. I've got my eyes on SMCI calls, and damn straight we're gonna play some SPX calls. So
Right. Do you think Microsoft will have any good move tomorrow, or do you think it's kind of just range it?
Microsoft just closed at all-time highs. Is that right? Yeah, Microsoft just closed all-time highs. It's in the middle of wow, it finally broke out from this range. I was looking to short this thing. Every time it got down here, I was waiting for a continuation move lower and it never came. But that's what happens. All these shorts that were piling in the same time I was looking at it, when you don't get that follow through, they have to close their positions. And sure enough, when you get a lot of people liquidating short positions, that's what we call a short squeeze. So now that markets saw some positivity, we squeezed on out of here. So, little bit of a harsh reaction today, but I do think that they'll kind of hold this balance. it kind of got ahead of itself. The day to play it was yesterday and today for upside. Um, Again, a little bit of a blow off top here, so I don't know how confident I am in Microsoft for continued upside. But all I know is it's well above the previous balance, and it just closed an all-time high close. Uh, this one's tricky because this daily close and this daily action isn't great, you know.
Right.
Um, Looking super zoomed out, looking inwards, I don't see a reason to short it. But if you are looking to day trade it, there, you could use this daily close as an excuse to try shorts. So this one's a little bit tougher than some of the other setups. Um,
Probably be a good one to get into tomorrow.
yeah, it's just tricky. It's just tricky. And I say this a lot to newer traders is you're getting better at trading when you're more picky, right? Picky is the word I choose intentionally because there should be certain things you see on a chart that tell you
Mhm.
to trade it, right? If you have to draw a bunch of lines and look at five different indicators and look for one that tells you to trade it, it's probably not the best setup. Typically, when I like something, I can look at it for 30 seconds and find what I like. You know what I mean? Um, and that of course comes with experience, but if you have to do 10 different things to a chart to justify that you want to play it, it's probably not that great. Like I said, when I look at a chart, I know within a few seconds of looking at the bigger picture if I think I like it or not.
You can always draw up lines on a chart to kind of make them.
Yeah, you can always trick your brain into justifying it. But yeah, Microsoft's a little tricky up here. I do think if it gave, if I saw the next 2 or 3 days worth of action, I'd probably be a little bit more confident. But you're in the middle of a breakout, right? So it's in the middle of a breakout. It got a little bit ahead of itself today. Now we just kind of need to see where buyers start to step in, and that's why this is tricky because they gave us a blow off top, but then they ended up buying back the close and holding that high close. So it's just kind of indecisive, right? It's not super confident. But buyers closed the day in control. We closed at an all-time high close. It's not something I'd short personally,
Yeah,
especially being in the sector that it is and now achieving the most valuable company in the world.
yeah, that's pretty. I didn't know.
Yeah, just today. It's not by much either.
Netflix
It's
had
Netflix.
Netflix had the same kind of daily candle as Microsoft.
It is similar.
Mhm.
Are they at all-time
Yeah,
highs? No, not even close.
not even did not like being above 500.
God, looking back at some of these charts that I don't trade every day or I don't look at every day just make me mad, dude. Because like this entry was so
Yeah,
clean for swings. Yeah, it just makes me mad. But anyways, yeah, Netflix is very similar. Kind of, it kind of just reestablished itself in that relative high range. You know, yeah, it's tricky, 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 tricky. I'm surprised Tesla's as weak as it is, to be honest, seeing all these other tech names do so well. Anyways, we are in the last few minutes here. Does anyone have anything it can be chart related, but anyone just have any general questions or anything like that?
I have a minor issue with what you said about how the market liked the data. I don't think I don't think they did. I think it was a hot print,
It
and I
was.
think that's why we sold off. I think that what nobody likes being up here, and I don't think anybody likes buying. But they have no choice. I think that we've seen, some large scale sellers de-risking finally, taking some profits, and then
Well,
bots kick back in and stop everybody back in.
You could very easily chalk it up to algo trading, right? That's a big, I don't want to say excuse, but that's a big reason a lot of people say why we keep going higher off of such low volume. I completely get it. But when every single short fails to follow through, you get mass numbers of short positions being liquidated, and that in itself pushes us higher, you know? So again, whether it's warranted, whether it's short squeezes, or it really is just people contributing to their IRAs, right? We're working higher, and like I said, Nasdaq literally closed green today, and ES gave us a big fat V. So how I look at it is the trend higher is still intact, and we're still contesting all-time highs. So maybe maybe it was a little bit overzealous of me to say that we liked the data, but we certainly negated any negative reaction to it.
It's more accurate.
Yeah,
We didn't like literally nothing matters in any market, so they went off of it.
you're right. You're right. The knee-jerk reaction was definitely a sell-off, but it failed to follow through, and too many people were loading zero DT options at fucking low a day. And how did market makers react to that? Squeezing their ass out. You can see the moment the shorts gave up right here. They put on a big fight at 4,800, and this is when they realized they lost.
Right.
But hey, tomorrow's Friday. Let's try to enjoy some upside if it's given. you know, hey, SPX, it will offer some short opportunities. It's just what SPX does. You know, even on the trends higher, we still get sell-offs, right?
So whenever you break an all-time high, how, how much higher normally kind of does it go? It's kind of like, you know, individual instances where it happened, but it just like everybody just gets so excited and they're running up another, a couple hundred points before they take their profits, or is it something that, is it something that takes a lot of pressure to get it up through there, or once it breaks it, does it kind of go for a little while, or what kind of work breaking through all to the high?
That's a great question. I mean, that's something where you probably have to compile years and years of data. Because if you look here, right, let's look at last year, right, or 2 years ago. We made this high. We got somewhat of a significant sell-off and pullback. We broke this high, and we continued to just trend higher for, let's do the math here before we made that next high. So we hit 47, 4702. Previous high was about 45, 4545. So we did another 3.5% higher from this, right? And that was great. And then this all-time high, when we made this one, it was just a blow off top that took a week to take place, right? So this one, previous high was 4,700. The high was 4,800. 4,800, 4,700. That was only a 2% move higher, right? So it completely,
Tapped along on that all-time high back there too. Didn't.
yeah, for a while they didn't like it, you know. But that's a sort of question where you would just have to compile probably 50 to 100 years worth of data and get some sort of average, because and then there are things that are just more up to interpretation, right? For example, like if we look back here, during the Trump administration, right? If we look at that going into COVID, we made an all-time high here. We made another one here. Um, but like, is this really a break of all-time high if we're ranging, right? Because I would argue that we pretty much ranged for about a year before making a move higher, right? And then this was a new all-time high right here. But, was this really a break to new all-time highs if the previous high was a few points lower, right? Like on a technicality, this is a new all-time high, and it didn't break. It closed the all-time high, but it rejected pretty shortly after. Here's a new one, right? So it takes a little bit of interpretation for you to be like, okay, when did we break to new highs, right? Or whatever. A simple way to do it is just anytime we make a new high before we see a significant pullback, how high did we go? Right? And those few pieces of data right there would really skew your data set because we made like 3, 4 new highs in the span of a year, but each of them were maybe 1 or 2% higher, right?
Right.
If that even. Right?
Yeah. It seemed like it, just looking at what you're kind of showing here, yeah, it's a pretty short sample size, but it seemed like it like happened a few times before it really breaks through for a big upside.
Yeah, dude, and this is 20 years worth. We're going all the way back to 2004 here. You know, here's your housing crisis.
I don't know where it really goes.
But this is
Games got formed over time, but the
yeah, yeah. You want to show me you want to see something I like to look at a lot? It kind of trips me out. The 200 period moving average on uh the 200 period simple moving average has done an incredible job of timing bottoms. And I don't know how, I don't know why, but it's probably because 2 billion people in the world are looking at it at any given time. This thing has done an incredible job at timing bottoms, right? It called the bottom in 2016. It called the bottom in 27 or 2019, right? And then this one got overshot, but look at that. It nailed the most recent bottom too, right? Like this it works on a weekly. I don't really trust it on a daily. On the daily it doesn't really give too much, but on the weekly, the 200 period weekly moving average, this thing has nailed so many of the significant bottoms.
uh, it says, obviously hugging it pretty well. If it get too far, it get too extended too far away from it, it comes back down.
Oh, for sure.
Kind of about where you have your cursor now. I got pretty extended away, then it come back down closer to it.
Yep. Yep. There's a whole strategy around if I show this chart real quick, I've got a 50 and a 200 period. One of the most popular trading strategies is golden death crosses. In fact, you take any finance 101 class when they cover technical analysis, this is the chart they'll show you. Um, a lot of the time, it's very delayed, very delayed. It's a very macro type of deal. But when the faster moving simple moving average crosses below the longer one, it means to get short or sell. And when the faster moving average crosses above the slower moving average, it means to buy. Okay, so I'll show you. Typically, it's very laggy, but it's indicative of longer term trends. So, for example, if you bought right here, right, this is where the faster moving one crosses the slower. You'd be buying equity right here, right around this day, right? And so you can see right off the bat when that happened, it got a little bit of a knee jerk reaction because there's millions and millions of people across the world seeing that happen, and they're like, okay, it's telling me to get long term equity. Sure enough, it has not crossed over since, and this is where your equity's sitting now, right? This was telling you to sell. And if you sold equity, you would have timed the bottom perfectly. however, however, when did it cross? All the way right here. So if we look on that day, you believe it or not, you are actually lower than when it changed. So a lot of people, believe it or not, use this as a strategy, right? So again, this one not so great, not such a great indicator, right? It's very laggy, right? You would have sold the bottom here and sat through absolute hell for like 2 weeks before you hit. Yeah, exactly. So it's a very macro setup, but it's like if we throw this on like a you know, max available. Let's see how many times it worked or didn't work. Right. So check this out. This one tells you to sell. You would have sold right here. And when it told you to buy, oh, this one you were wrong. This one you lost money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have lost money here for sure. Right. Um, Let's
I mean,
see.
that's the kind
But
of
this
thing
tells you to
that makes a
buy.
question being a trader.
So you would have bought right here.
It's a big drop.
Yeah, so it tells you to buy right here, and when does it cross again? So this one tells you to buy, and you would have sold. This one you would have lost money too. Oh, anyways, yeah, it's funny that that's one of the most taught subjects and strategies for technical analysis in any finance course. It's hilarious, dude. Going through college, anytime a professor would bring this up, I would take a picture of it and send it into the group chat here, and we'd always get a laugh out of it. It's funny. The three things they always teach